A criminal prosecution of a misdemeanor turned into a felony in order to bypass the statute of limitations with the goal of preventing the American people from voting for the person they want to vote for. Now, there are a lot of questions I have about the legal process in Judge Juan Merchan's courtroom. Nobody knows the inside of a courtroom better than Arthur Aidala, New York City trial attorney. He's the host of the Arthur Aidala Power Hour every weeknight on AM 970, The Answer in New York City. He's smart, he's accomplished, and he's connected to this trial by observing it very, very closely. And I wanted to get all the X's and O's from the man himself, wearing a nifty pair of looks like red glasses today. Is this your?
I'm channeling my Sally Jesse Raphael today.
I got it. Yeah, it's like your scholarly look. You know, I like it.
You obviously you remember the show Sanford and Son.
Of course I do.
So Fred Sanford. Exactly. I love that show. That song too. Fred Sanford had this drawer with like 800 pairs of glasses in it. Basically, since I've needed reading glasses, I basically bought like 100 pair of glasses, and they're all over the place. And so whatever's around, I just grab them, I throw them on, and here we are.
You know, Arthur, it's my unwillingness to confront mortality that I need them so badly, but I just want to keep squinting. I hate wearing glasses, but you should see me in this studio. I make Tracy print everything quadruple print so I could read it because I won't wear the doggone glasses. But hey, you've embraced it with relish. You look good. It looks good. It matches your tie.
I don't have a lot of choice there, Mike. You know, talking about me studying this case, I have PTSD because I've actually tried cases in this exact courtroom with this DA's office, with these court officers. So I really, really,
these people.
I feel the trial coming through my veins. I know one of the defense attorneys, Susan Nicholas, very, very well. She's a seasoned lawyer. She's a great lawyer. She's a real New York City fixture in the criminal justice system.
Interesting. Now, President Trump, one of his complaints yesterday was about this dingy courtroom was that it's freezingly cold. Is that true?
It depends. I mean, sometimes it's blistering hot. It really, really depends. It is a very old building, and it's one of these things where in the wintertime they have the heat on like 92 degrees. So they literally open the windows in the wintertime because it's that hot in there because of all the steam coming through. But yeah, I am not surprised one iota that there may be some issues with temperature control in that courtroom.
Wow. All right, now let's talk about the internal temperature of the country as we're witnessing Alvin Bragg's prosecution. I've seen legal analysis that says of all of the legal stuff they're throwing at Trump, civil or criminal, this is actually the most preposterous of all the cases. Can you kind of give us an overview, Arthur, about how this started, how Alvin Bragg originally refused to prosecute Trump on the claim that he engaged in some kind of a payment to Stormy Daniels prior to the 2016 election, and then how it wound up coming to trial anyway? Walk us through the whole sordid chapter, Arthur.
Okay, so in the time we have allotted, because it's a long story. So before Alvin Bragg came in, Cy Vance, who was the prior district attorney, he brought in a whole team to investigate Donald Trump. And I mean, I can't go as far as saying he refused to indict him, but put it this way, before he voluntarily left office, Cy Vance didn't get voted out. He resigned voluntarily. So it's not like he didn't know it was coming. He did not indict Donald Trump. Now, then Bragg comes in, and Bragg initially says, I'm not going to indict Donald Trump. And the special prosecutor from that office, from the Manhattan DA's office, has a hissy fit, goes out and writes a book about why Trump should be indicted. And then all of a sudden, Bragg reverses course and says, I changed my mind. Now I am going to indict Donald Trump. And he indicts him on an E felony. Just so folks know, like murder is an A felony. Rape is like a B+ felony. Robbery with a weapon is a B felony. Then you go down to C felonies, which is like a lot of drug cases. Then D felonies, which is like a lot of financial crimes. E felonies is the bottom of the barrel. I was on the air the other night with a judge who was on the bench, I don't know, at least 20 years, and she was kind of defending the prosecution, the overall prosecution of the case. I said, Your Honor, let me ask you something. On live TV, I said, have you ever tried an felony in your whole career? And it was just dead air. Because in the world I live in, Mike, it just doesn't happen, right? Even if there is
but
an
wait a minute,
felony.
but Arthur, there's a reason that it's a felony, right? Because as I understand it, this is really a misdemeanor originally,
Correct.
but Bragg had to twist it into an felony in order to be able to try it, right?
It's so basically, in simple terms, he's charged with committing a misdemeanor to hide or commit a felony. So the corpus, the real thing, is the misdemeanor, and it only gets elevated because he was doing it to commit another crime. And that's also a way that they're backdooring through the statute of limitations. It is so complicated, Mike Gallagher, that when my partner, Judge Barry Cammons, writes books on the law, books on evidence, a column for the Law Journal, when this indictment came out, he had to sit in his office, close the door, open up all the law books, and try to figure it out. This is a judge, a retired judge, who's been practicing law for 55 years, who's known as an academic scholar, and he could not figure out this indictment and the charges that have stemmed from it. Good luck to the jury figuring it out. And on Monday is a big day. We're going to hear the opening statements, especially from the prosecutor, and we're going to hear what this really big, bad crime is all about. Basically, they're saying money went to Stormy Daniels, and it was written in a book, legal fees, as opposed to hush money fees. Ridiculous.
I mean, it's beyond ridiculous, and their star witness is a fellow named Michael Cohen. Now, I don't like to disparage people on a personal level. I've never met the guy, but let's just put it this way. This is not exactly a Boy Scout when it comes to his track record and the legal troubles that he has had and his perjury, right? Isn't he a confirmed perjurer?
Yes, and here's the thing, Mike. You are the prosecutor. You're the Manhattan District Attorney. You are going to be the first person to indict a president of the United States, and you're basing it on crimes that are fugazi, that have never been brought before, and then those crimes, you're relying on someone who's, as if I'm the defense attorney, who's just unreliable. You know what I would say, Mike, at the end of my opening statement? Folks, while Michael Cohen is testifying, while you're listening to him, and while you're hearing our cross-examination about his whole life and his whole history, this is what I want you to consider. Would you trust Michael Cohen with something significant that matters to you in your life? Something as simple as holding your wallet with all your cash in. Would you feel okay having Michael Cohen hold that for you for half an hour and he was all alone in a room? Because if you wouldn't, then you have to find our client not guilty.
It's going to be fascinating to see it play out. Of course, most of us believe it's impossible for Trump to get a fair jury. It's impossible for him to get a fair trial. I've been warning this audience. I think just based on where the trial is taking place, he's going to get convicted. Am I being too pessimistic? I know you're a happy warrior on behalf of your profession, but this has got to be kind of bleak for him, isn't it, Arthur?
I agree with you. I sadly agree with you. They sat a jury yesterday over the defense objection, who basically said, she doesn't say, I don't like Donald Trump. I forget the exact words, forgive me. But it was something like, I don't like the way he conducts himself. I don't like the way he handles people. I think he's very selfish. If this was any other case where a prospective juror says, I'm not too fond of the defendant, the judge would knock that person off in a millisecond.
Right.
A millisecond. Right. But here the judge is like, well, she ultimately said she doesn't like people she works with and she still works with them. So I find that she can be fair and impartial. That's just not cool. I mean, that's the most legal term I could use, is not cool. I mean, there were 500 jurors waiting in the wings. It's not like they were going to run out of people. If you're the judge, say, okay, I guess we shouldn't seat a juror who has now said, yeah, I'm not a fan of this guy. It's supposed to be fair and impartial. Impartial means you don't really have an opinion. She said she had an opinion.
Arthur Aidala is with us, host of the Arthur Aidala Power Hour. Follow him on X at Arthur Aidala, Aidala. Of course, one of the most prominent attorneys in New York City and in the country. Arthur, I've got nothing but a knot in the pit of my stomach over the outcome. I have the same degree of cynicism you have about a fair and just outcome. So let's go to where we shouldn't have to go. But what happens if and when he gets convicted? Does the man go to jail?
First of all, here's what I'm hoping for, so people understand. You need all 12 people to agree that the people of the state of New York, the prosecution, has proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt. I do have hope. I have hope for 3 out of the 12 to say this is BS. Like, there's also something called jury nullification, where even if the jurors do, even if the prosecution does prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, the jurors say, okay, it's fugazi. This is so petty. It's a politically motivated thing. I'm not saying guilty. If 2, all you need is 1, right? But if you have 3, they kind of hold strong. If you can keep all 3 of those together and you get a hung jury, well, then they just have to do this all over again. And that wouldn't be until, way, way down the road. If he gets convicted on an E felony, look, all I can tell you is if his name was not Donald Trump and his name was John Doe, there's no way he's going to jail for this. No way. Could the Manhattan DA's office with a straight face even ask for jail when there are guys with C felonies and B felonies that they're not giving jail? They're giving alternatives to incarceration to. So what would happen? A fine, community service, maybe probation, but this isn't someone needs to be on probation. You're talking about a bookkeeping error. So ultimately, this really has to do with politics. How, if he does get convicted, how does this hurt him, if at all? I will tell you, I think this trial has helped him in certain ways. My understanding is he's raised a ton of money because of it, because people see him as being persecuted. If he ultimately got convicted, I don't know. Is he the martyr? Does it help him? The people, the undecided, say, well, I can't really vote for a convicted felon. I don't know. Only time will tell.
Well, but that's the point, I think, and that's the sick and twisted part of this. I think it may not be jail time that he's facing, but it will be that they will pin on him, starting with Joe Biden, do you want to vote for a convicted felon? That's all this is about. And if they get away with this, if Alvin Bragg and this corrupt prosecution is successful, I mean this, Arthur, God help us all. God help this country, because if they can get away with that to him, they can do it to anybody, and it's frightening. But listen, good thing there are great attorneys like Arthur Aidala in the world, because when you've been wronged, he's the guy you turn to. Everybody ought to have an Arthur Aidala in their life. Arthur, thanks for spending some time with us here on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Mike. And Mike, don't forget the first guy who ever paid hush money that we know of, Alexander Hamilton.
Oh my gosh. I know. That's right. With the affair he had, right? With the flyers and all that. Hey, go see Hamilton on Broadway. You got to remember that story. All right. Thanks, Arthur. Appreciate it. Keep fighting the good fight. Arthur Aidala joining us, the Arthur Aidala Power Hour here on the Mike Gallagher Show in the Relief Factor Studios.